Had a quick power nap, got a little bit of sleep, slapped myself around with a shower, and we're here once again. This is Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show. We will sift through the rubble of what remains after that Jets Chargers game, give some final notes and quotes, and start turning the page to the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football. Let's get into it. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rogers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
That was a total disaster. And now we have to figure out what to do and where to go from here, because that is literally the headline of this video. Hey, everybody, welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show for about 20 minutes-ish. And we're also available in the audio-only form by simply searching for Boy Green Daily. Feel free to do so. We've appreciated the support. You know, I made a missive out on social media this week. One of my goals on this show was to bring new and different people on the program for different perspectives, and also hopefully the show can provide a nice little juicy platform. And we're doing that with this man, who I've done shows with him before as part of other bigger shows, but we haven't done any content together mano a mano. So it's time to check it off the bucket list. Let's bring him in, a wonderful Jets content creator. It is time to talk some Jets with Tigo, joining us here on the program. Good morning, Tigo.
Good morning, Boy Green. How are you doing today?
Boy, I don't even know, man. I'm not sure. And I think that's where a lot of Jet fans find themselves as I'm sifting through the comments here. A lot of people, saying good morning, even though it was good morning 3 or 4 hours ago when we were just finishing up that live stream after the game, as we do 2 hours after every game. And boy, just unfortunate because for a lot of reasons, obviously. The offense has been horrid. The Jets are in the conversation for the postseason, and everyone else lost in the AFC. So everything kind of lined up, the stars and moons, but all the Jets had to do was take care of their business. And narrator, they didn't. Thank you, Liev Shriver, who just provided that narration for us. Appreciate it. So, yeah, I think right now, like I said, just a lot of rubble going on. It's the end of Game of Thrones. Daenerys just came in and blasted all the buildings. We're kind of stumbling through the streets trying to figure out what's next. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no other way to say it, because just something isn't working. And I'd like to think that something is everything on the offensive side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
But it's just not working. And something needs to be done, and something needs to be changed. Because if there's any hope left in the season, like the AFC East is in such a rough spot, even though we lost yesterday, there's still a shot. That's the sad truth.
Yeah.
But if we can't get our stuff together, it's going to be hard to do anything.
Yeah, they literally control. Think about it this way: the Jets and Bills have the same amount of losses. So, if the Bills can quote unquote turn it around, they have one more win, but they'll get their bye week a little bit later in the season. The Jets haven't played either matchup against the Dolphins yet. I'm kind of excited for that matchup from a defense versus offense perspective, but obviously we can't be excited about anything offensively until we see something else happen. That game's coming up in a couple of weeks, I imagine. Again, like any basic team that's not the New York Giants with -9 passing yards, you're going to have to draw a line in the sand that's 14, 17, 20 points. We were talking about the number last year. If they scored 18 plus, they had insert record. The Jets are just not sniffing that kind of territory. And now we're relying on unlikely things to happen. Defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns. Hell, the Jets gave up a special teams touchdown to add insult to injury yesterday, and an offense that normally can't score to do that because they shut down Justin Herbert. And I mentioned this on the show yesterday / 3 hours ago, earlier this morning, is that that's one of the most frustrating parts is how well this defense is playing. That they're just delivering and they're getting a whole lot of crap. It looked like I was sifting through this morning all the other columns I may have missed last night for the frustration from players. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, all emitting that level of frustration about what the hell's going on with the offense. And I think it was Garrett who said this. It's hard to walk off the field after a quick 3 and out and look his brothers, his teammates in the face, his defensive teammates in the eyes and say, go back out there, Slappy, to go out there back on defense after we did nothing. So that's a frustrating part as a fan right now, because I think, as Robert Sauer said, they have a quote unquote championship level defense, but right now it's certainly being wasted. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have a team that can, unfortunately, we don't have a team that can overcome mistakes.
Yeah.
And
even the most basic of which.
Yeah. We just don't have a team that's going to put up offensive points. And when the defense, in all actuality, when a defense like the Jets have gives up 6 points, that's really what they gave up.
They did.
Because the first 4 possessions that the New York Jets had went, what was it? It was
actually I can check.
Punt, fumble, fumble. It was punt, TD, fumble, fumble, fumble. Was that the first 4 possessions that we had?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it.
Literally in order. You can't do that and then expect to come back, because it doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math.
It was fumble, fumble, punt, punt.
Yeah,
that was it. Oof.
Yeah. So like Justin Herbert threw for 136 yards,
lowest of the season.
The Chargers combined for 220 total offensive yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they have 27 points. That math doesn't math.
That math is not math.
Is this new Common Core math that we're seeing in schools that we're all going to have to learn? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
The Jets finished with more offensive yards than the Chargers did. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, we did. Like, if you're a box score nerd, it doesn't make sense. Zack Wilson outdueled Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
We had just as many rushing yards as them.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 6 points.
6 measly points.
6 points.
Pair of field goals.
And it comes back to this team cannot overcome the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It can't happen on offense. And the blame goes everywhere.
Sure.
The offensive line needs to hold up. How many dropped passes did we have yesterday? How many bad balls did we have yesterday? How many times, 5 of the 8 sacks that Zach had was him just holding onto the ball for 9 seconds and just hanging out and waiting for Tuli Tuipulotu to come give him a hug.
Mm-hmm.
We have to play perfect football on offense. We're just not.
Yeah, it seems unrealistic. So what changes do we see? Because again, to your point, it would be a lot easier if just Zach was terrible, the rest of the offense was amazing. Or there's one really crappy receiver, remove him and everything's fixed. The play calling stinks, just switch him, although there are multi-layers to that, which probably you can't, and Robert Saleh said he wouldn't consider a change at this point. What do you do with everything seemingly not working? Where do you start with change? Because again, as I mentioned, on the live stream after the game, if you do nothing and change absolutely nothing, no lineup, no quarterback, no play caller, no nothing, just roll back out against the Raiders, then, oh man, we sucked again on offense. You have no one to blame but yourself. Now, if you do some level of change and it doesn't work, okay, well, at least you tried. But what should that level of change be, Mr. Tigo?
I think it just wholesale, the philosophy on offense needs to change.
Okay.
I think you can tell the difference on the play calling if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs game versus every game after that. Hackett went out there and said, screw it. We're just going to go and we're going to try to outduel Patrick Mahomes. And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you got to stop. You can see the gears turning in Zach's head. You got to get out of this kid's ear. You can see him going, a sack is better than an interception. A sack is better than an interception. And yes, that's true. Take the sack, don't throw the interception. But like, you have to run more Xavier Gibson, run more Jason Brownlee, give this Irvin Charles kid a shot. Why is Israel Abanikanda not playing yet? Like, just wholesale top to bottom, you're going to ride or die with Zack Wilson. There is no other quarterback. People talking about, oh, we got to bench Zack Wilson. Tim Boyle's not winning you a single game. Tim Boyle is not Mike White. We got to get that. Like, Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian are not guys that you can bring in and hope to win games. That's the sad truth. So just let it rip. Just let Zack go out there and be Zack. If that comes with interceptions, okay, I guess it comes with some interceptions. But it's better than what it seems like. We're playing to not lose, and you got to play to win the game. And that we're just not doing that on offense right now. And I think that has to be it.
Yeah, Zack Wilson has thrown one interception in his last 219 attempts. That is second only in the league to rookie C.J. Stroud, of course, who's got 270-plus attempts, only one interception. He's got a 14 touchdown to one interception ratio, by far the best touchdown-interception ratio in the league. Now, here's the problem. So that stat I just mentioned is good. But to your point, maybe there's a little bit of too much conservatism. And then when you're trying to do things like, I'll eat it. And it looks good right here as I read you that stat. That sounds phenomenal. 219 throws, one pick during that entire span. And that spans about 6 games. I mean, if you're reading that sounds good. Here's what doesn't sound good. Shout out to Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic for this. Zack Wilson over the last 5 games has 8 fumbles. He's only thrown 5 touchdown passes over those 8 games. So when you balance the turnover risk of 1 pick and 219 attempts, you have to sandwich that with other context, other statistics, and seeing, again, 8 fumbles, a fumble a game, or at least in this case, actually, those 8 fumbles came in the last 5 games, not the total 8. It's just you need to kind of change the risk versus reward process to have those opportunities, because it's not worth it with not enough quality on these throws. So I think that is kind of a good highlight on that Chiefs game, because now you got this Raiders team. And let's be blunt again. Again, I'll dive deeper into the analytics and the numbers as we have Raiders guests and other people this week. The Raiders defense has talent similar to the Chargers of like a Max Crosby, but they're not good. So that's another chance to throw it around a little, or Breece Hall it, or whatever you're going to do, because it's another defense that has talent, but it's not good. And, there's no excuse anymore. Connor Hughes mentioned this on his SNY postgame coverage, is the fact of the matter is that you can't use the Chargers defense was good as an excuse, because they were bad by every level of DVOA, pass defense, scoring defense. Like, all of it was bad, and the Jets still couldn't do it. That's discouraging. Discouraging, to say the least.
And the biggest concern that I have, like, looking forward is, like, the Raiders did the dumb thing by doing the smart thing. And I mean, it's dumb as Jet fans. It's like, well, they fired their coach, which they should have done last year. Probably, so now this team in the Las Vegas Raiders is coming out, and they're playing to show the rest of the NFL that it wasn't them, that it was Josh, that Josh is one of the worst coaches in the NFL and should not be employed anymore. And they're going out and they're playing with this newfound fire. And now you have to go against that team, because, again, we struggled against the Giants. And if you look at them going up against that same team, arguably a little bit healthier, right?
Sure.
That same team, and they went out and dominated.
Yeah.
Offensively, defensively, everything. And this is a team that offensive line wasn't holding up all year with the Vegas Raiders, and they were able to hold up. It's just, you're looking at a really scary situation, because now it's another must-win game against a team that's on the come-up, which on paper we should be able to beat. But does anybody have an answer for Max Crosby? Not with our broken-up offensive line.
Yeah, that part's bad. I will say the thing I kind of like that the Raiders got that out of the way. There was the emotion of the first game after Josh McDaniels. Antonio Pierce and the Giants, obviously that connection of winning a Super Bowl there and being able to face his old team. Here's the thing. I look at it this way. The Jets beat the Giants, and a lot of the players' conversations in the locker room is like, boy, we got lucky there. Like, woof, dodged a bullet. The Raiders beat the Giants. We're having victory cigars in the locker room, for Pete's sake. I got to be honest. I look at this and I say, okay, the Jets just got embarrassed at home. So in theory, from a mentality standpoint, you're going into this week. We need to figure this out. There's a greater level of emphasis. The Raiders, we just smacked around the Giants. We're smoking. I was about to say doobies, but we're smoking cigars, right? In the locker room. Woo! Can't wait for them to come over. We'll beat both New York teams. I don't know, man. I like the mentality of both these teams. Again, the Jets have to do something offensively. We don't know what that is right now, currently here on I was going to say Monday, but a Tuesday morning, November 7th. I don't know what those changes are going to be, but I like the mindsets heading into this game because here's the thing. I think the Jets defense is going to eat Aiden O'Connell for breakfast. If they were able to shut down Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and now Justin Herbert on that list, come on, Aiden O'Connell, a rookie against this Jets defense, they're going to eat him up. But the problem is you still have to score offensively. You can't just hope to win 6-0 or 9-0. You have to actually do some action. So that's the part of concern as we head into this Jets Raiders game. But from an overall standpoint, I like the mentalities and I love the Jets defense against Aiden O'Connell. That part excites me. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Again, our defense is going to shut down everyone this year.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part about it.
Yeah.
Is just the fact of our defense holds up incredibly well. And they're being asked to do some just unrealistic things out there in terms of I don't know if you mentioned it, if it was in the pregame or if it was during the show, but the pre-show, sorry. How can you, like Garrett Wilson was saying, how can you go out there 3 and out after the defense holds up an 8-drive running the ball? They stop them. They get no points. And hey, sorry guys, got to get back out there and stop Justin Herbert, who's, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and Austin Eckler, who's one of the better running backs in the NFL. And, Keenan Allen just went for 10,000 yards. Go stop those guys again. Sorry you had the opportunity to take one sip of Gatorade, but go run it back. And then they do. And then you go back out. And then it's like, hey, want to do it again? Because we're 3 and out again. And it's just it's just wholesale changes need to happen from top to bottom. Because nothing is working. Nothing is working. And the blame goes everywhere.
One problem I'd like to float out there, Alan Lazard. This is a guy that just paid $44 million to this offseason. He had, I don't want to contribute all of them, but he had drops last night, and he has entering the game. He had a 19% drop rate. I'll have to see what the updated number is now after last night, but he's had drops. He had some key penalties on multiple positive plays for the Jets that had to be called back because of his penalties. The production isn't there. He's made some clutch plays. I have to give him that through whatever these 8 games are. He had the Chiefs touchdown. He had the big play on the right hash, the massive play on that one. So, and of course the Giants game, obviously that catch and ball to the ref and all of that contributed. So that's the complicated story of Alan Lazard. He's had a lot of clutch plays this year. The leadership seemingly has been really important in the locker room, but there's been drops, there's been penalties, and there's been inconsistency, and he hasn't risen to the occasion. What would you do, talking Jets with Tigo here, with Alan Lazard as currently constructed? What would you do with him?
The thing is we need one of these young wide receivers to go and take his job. The sad truth is that Xavier Gibson, while we all love him, is not a wide receiver too. He should play primarily in the slot, which is what he's doing, and he's getting enough touches and he's doing the things that he's supposed to. Xavier, but he's clearly not ready. When you watch the tape, he's not turning his head at the right time. His route running is very sloppy. So X isn't ready to take a bigger role.
Okay.
But we haven't seen Jason Brownlee be given a shot in this offense. No. I would look at saying, you know what can Jason Brownlee do?
Sure.
Just because it can't be worse. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
It can't be worse. And then the other thing is, we have so much money in this tight end room. And while, yes, Tyler Conklin got the second most amount of targets in the game yesterday, got 6 targets, 6 receptions. Like, we threw the ball to Alan Lazard 6 times and he caught it twice. Like, let's take 2 of those targets away from Lazard and give those to, I don't know, Ruckert, who got 1 target.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's not the answer, because even then it doesn't seem like he's totally ready. It's hard. The wide receiver room is the biggest problem right now. I'm like, the offensive line is banged up. Got it. But like, you can't keep throwing assets at the offensive line room. We've used multiple draft picks in every draft on the offensive line and multiple free agent signings along the offensive line over years. And this offensive line just can't stay healthy. That's just bad luck. Can't control health. That's just bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
But to go into this season with that wide receiver room and to not address it, and to not to knowing that, because they knew, we didn't, that Corey Davis might retire, and the only thing that you do is McCole Hardman, who's not a wide receiver 2, Alan Lazard, who's not a wide receiver 2, and then expect it to work. That's the biggest concern. And even Joe Douglas saw that. The trade deadline, what was the rumors that came out? Who was he calling on?
Devontae
Ezra
Adams,
Cleveland,
Mike Evans, and of course T. Higgins. Those were the 3 that he heavily, aggressively pursued, according to reports.
Yeah, he knows what and where the problems are, and it's pass catchers. The pass catchers aren't doing a good enough job.
Do you give him a pass for that? So, like, this is an interesting debate point on social media. So, Joe Douglas, obviously, it seems like, according to multiple reports, multiple insiders, he attempted to swing for the fences on all those 3 that I mentioned. Again, Higgins, Evans, and Adams. But all of the team said no, so he went, well, I didn't do it. So, some Jet fans are like, see, look, Joe Douglas is doing that work, even though it didn't happen. Others are saying, okay, you swung and missed on those, but why didn't you get a lower-level receiver then? Some people brought up DPJ. Others have brought up Hunter Renfrow and try to figure out the salary and do something. Do you blame Douglas? So he tried aggressively at the top. It doesn't sound like he went below that top tier. Do you blame him for not grabbing someone? Because obviously the Jets seemingly needed someone, even if it wasn't Devontae or Mike Evans or T. Higgins. They needed somebody. Do you blame him for not getting anybody?
Well, the thing is we don't know. Like, we all know that the rumors are always going to come out from other buildings,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know that when he called the Raiders about Devontae, he didn't also ask about Hunter Renfrow, right?
Sure.
We're never going to know in total reality, but like, only 1 wide receiver was moved.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, DPJ. Yeah, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure, like, yeah, I would have loved to be on the Donovan Peoples-Jones, like, sweepstakes, and maybe he helps this wide receiver room. But like, the sad truth is that we all want the trade deadline to be like the hockey trade deadline in the NHL, where teams are like legitimately shaking up entire rosters and multiple first-round picks are being traded and people are going all in. I don't think you can do that in the NFL with a trade deadline that's so early in the season. If we pushed it back 3 weeks, 2 weeks, if we did it to like week 10, week 11, you see a lot more of that because seasons are over and you can start doing certain things. And we're starting to get there with the Washington Commanders sending, like, Sweat and Young. Yeah. But you can't, I'm not saying that he's a flawless general manager, right? That's not what I'm trying to get at. Mm-hmm. But he went after DeAndre Hopkins. He went after Odell Beckham Jr. He tried to make moves for Devontae Adams and T. Higgins and Mike Evans and all of those things. They tried their hardest to convince Corey Davis to stick around. They brought in a weapon that they thought that they could change and coach up and mold in McCole Hardman. They thought that they could hide the mistakes of Alan Lazard with, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. It's not a lack of trying. Okay. But you need 2 teams to do business. And if the Raiders think that, Devontae Adams, we can't move on from him because of that contract, which will make sense. You can't do it. The Bucs think that they're still relevant and good on them. They kind of are in that division and all of that stuff. At a certain point in time, it's just out of your control. Yeah. And it's just like, we wanted Orlando Brown Jr. Oh, yeah. That right? Could have been. Yeah, like, what that and I was not an OBJ the lineman guy. I'm still not. He is not playing well for the Bengals. Yeah. But again, he tried.
Yeah,
Teams don't let offensive linemen walk.
they do.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So this idea of like, oh, you blame Joe Douglas. He didn't do enough on the offensive line. Like, who moved? Where was this magical starting offensive tackle?
Yeah.
Where was this magical wide receiver that was going to fix everything? OBJ is doing nothing in Baltimore. Nothing.
Yeah.
In Baltimore.
Yeah. Been terrible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's wrap it up. Let's put a bow on this one, and then by the time we hop on tomorrow with the rest of our guests this week, that Chargers logo will turn into a Raiders. We must turn the page as the New York Jets will for Sunday Night Football, which, again, I'm excited for more Sunday Night Football. If the offense picks it up, we will find out if that is indeed the case later. But, Tigo, final thoughts here. Anything we may have missed on Jets-Chargers you wanted to get off your chest?
I think a lot of people need to really start taking a good hard look at the skill positions for the New York Jets. I think that we're way too easily and way too quickly blaming the offensive line. And I think a lot of people, when you're going to watch back this game and you're going to watch back the All-22 and you're going to look and see what happened, I think a lot of people are going to come to the realization that the offensive line, even as banged up as it did, kind of held up, and that this blame needs to start being not just on Zack, who should take a majority of the blame. But we have to start having serious conversations about Garrett Wilson and some of the mistakes that he's starting to make, and Alan Lazard and all of the mistakes that we see continue to pile up, and Xavier Gibson and the tight ends and Nathaniel Hackett, because if wholesale change isn't coming soon and we continue to Brees Hall had 16 carries for 50 yards. We continue to see these struggles in the run game and in the pass game, making mistakes. I don't know if we're going to win any more games this year. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I would say. All right, well, blunt, and we appreciate it. Tigo, we'll definitely have to have you back on in the future, my man. Riveting stuff. Thank you so much for hopping on the program. We appreciate you. There he is. Before we get you out of here, give a quick plug for all the people that are either watching live or after the fact. We got 100-plus people in here, so feel free to promote. Where can they find you if they'd like to continue to follow your work?
Yeah, on YouTube, it's Talking Jets with Tigo. We do a lot of content and all of that stuff, and obviously talking about the Jets. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, as Jets with Tigo. And then I know that some people might already be there and some people might not, but me and Dom C, beloved Jets content creator all the way around, we've started doing a draft channel where we talk about drafts and the prospects and all of that stuff. It's Project Prospect. So we've done 2 mock drafts already, and now we're going to start going into our positional breakdowns. So if you're interested in learning more about draft prospects and all of that stuff coming up, go over there. But that's where I'm at.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for that. I had not thought about draft really until you just said that, but you know what? It may be time. It may be time. Maybe it's always time. As a big draft geek that I am, it's always time. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with some more Boy Green Daily, and we'll officially turn the page to the Las Vegas Raiders and prepare you guys for Sunday Night Football. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.